We're gonna start to get started, mostly because I would like to get through a lot. And this is being recorded. So anybody who comes in late, I'll just say, watch the recording, and you'll kind of get that intro. And there's just so much to tackle and only an hour and a half. And so I really want to make sure that we can start to get this conversation started. So, if I had my paperwork, it'd be easier. This is all the paperwork? I just should have grabbed mine. How do Devise work? Work beyond text. It's really funny because I've done this panel multiple times, and I just have to TLDR. I'm not a theater person. I have been working at Hollywood Fringe since 2016 and moderating panels since 2016, but I've never created my own show. And so I like to come at it. You know, this is the show. But I like to preface it by saying, we are going to go from, that really base level. I have never written a show before, kind of knowledge base, which is where I used to come out from. And so I kind of deeply understand that, I've never done this before. This is really overwhelming. As well as, I've done this a lot of times, and now I'm looking at to how to do it within the Fringe context. And I think they're kind of two different conversations, but we kind of have to approach the work in the same way. And so we'll be doing some definitions throughout this, and we got you. So if you have any questions, please feel free to kind of raise during the panel, because this is also going over some concepts that might be out of your scope or out of your education. And don't worry about that. That doesn't mean you're not a peer person, and it doesn't mean that you might not create something that is going to change somebody's life. Before we begin, I want to do a quick land acknowledgement. Hollywood Fringe acknowledges that we are on the unceded lands of the Gabrielli, Yos, Tonga, and Chumash peoples. Our statement serves as a practice as we commit as an organization to connecting with Indigenous peoples past, present, and emerging. If you want to learn more about the land that we're on, as well as Hollywood Fringe's commitments and what we're working on, it's at hollywoodfringe.org/land. I'm Ellen. I'm one of the co-directors of Hollywood Fringe. I'm one of two full-time staff, me and Lois. And this is my job right now, which is crazy. For a quick visual description, which we'll all do, we're here on a stage. It has carpets on the ground. It's a typical kind of 3/4 audience. I don't know the technical theater term for it. Stage, black box. And we're all sitting on these blue chairs. I'm wearing all blue, dodging blue specifically, including some patterned pants. And I'm a white woman with some pretty messy bangs, and it's brown hair. And my pronouns are she, they. And how I started my journey with Fringe, which is what I'm going to ask you guys to do as well, is that I saw a Fringe show, and I was like, this is theater? I was so, as somebody who is, I've always grown up as an artist, I'm in the music industry, and I was just theater can be this conductive and can be this community based, and it really changed my perspective on what it looks like to be an indie artist, and interdisciplinary work happens so much here. You really get to see some really exciting things. And so that's how it is. So if you all could just tell me your name, your pronouns, a quick visual description. And so that's for people who don't know what that is. It's for blind or low vision folks, or people who are listening to this on an audio, because we will rip this as an audio, to be able to understand the context of who's speaking. So before we dive into the panel, can you tell me your name, your pronouns, your visual description, how you started your journey with Fringe, and then a little bit about your most recent Fringe show for folks who have done it more than once.
Yeah, okay. Hi, I'm Reshma Meister. My pronouns are she, her. My visual description is I'm 30 years old. Hello. I'm a mixed Indian brown woman. That is can you picture that? And I have a low bun. Here, pull back. Okay. Wow, there are no limits to the visual description. My first how I got started with Fringe.
Yeah.
I did a small festival in Fresno, where I'm from. There's a theater festival there. And I was kind of building a solo show. I did like the full hour out here, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna go home and do this festival. And then I did 5 shows there, and I was like, oh, I love being able to do the show 5 days in a row and like seeing how much it changes and putting it up in front of an audience. And so then I was like, oh, maybe I want to do that again at Hollywood Fringe. And I did a solo clown show. Yeah.
I am Molly. Hello. She, her. I'm a white woman, and I'm a little overdressed, I feel. But yeah, thank you. How we first
Experience Fringe or your first show that you did.
Yeah,
or your most recent show you did.
So I first kind of discovered Fringe, I guess, through like seeing other clowns perform their solo shows, like Natalie Palamides, Nate. I think I saw Vanessa 5000, Courtney Caruso. These are people who I like was really inspired by as a clown. And basically, our ensemble, Holy Holy, was put together about 2 years ago, and our director, Natasha Mercado, suggested we put a show on in January of 2025, and that's how that happened. And it was a new experience for me, although some of our ensemble members had already done solo work.
Amazing. Hi, I'm Hailey McAfee. My pronouns are she, her. I am a white woman with red hair, a black vest, green pants, like Kim Possible. I'm realizing in this moment.
Yeah.
My intro to Fringe. I did Fringe like over 10 years ago here in the main stage, back before it was the Broadwater, with a group of college friends called the Attic Collective. And I'm now, my most recent show is called And Her Children, and it's kind of like a solo show reimagining of a play called Mother Courage and Her Children.
So we have 2 clowns, solo clown, ensemble clown, the different shows, as well as like kind of like completely different serious solo work. And thankfully, I've seen your show. I haven't seen that one of your show, but I've seen other shows that you guys have done. And so like the context kind of going into it is that we're going to talk about like the weird, the wacky, but also like the serious work that can come out of Devise pieces, and kind of like that whole spectrum that is working on tracks. So let's talk for a second. Does anybody have a definition for devised theater? What does that even mean? Because let's define what we're talking about, and I would love to know what you guys define it as, and then I'll tell you like what we've kind of defined it as. I'm gonna make you go first, though. I'm gonna make Hailey go first.
Oh no!
Looks like
Okay, well, from my experience, so our theater company, Attic Collective, basically only devises, what we call devising. And I don't know, the way that we do it is like our director throws out themes or character tropes or something, and then gives us like 30 minutes to go off and create a scene, and then we come back and present. And it's sort of just like putting building blocks on top of each other until you can step back and look and be like, oh, I think I understand the shape of what this play might be.
What did Devise mean for you all?
That was such a great description. I would say, a lot of recording of rehearsals, like throwing out games for clowns to play with like status or doing like fun things or just a lot of games, and then kind of like seeing what stuck, what brought us the most joy. I think we're always looking for like what felt emotional or joyful for us, and then kind of reviewing the footage back and seeing what stuck and building blocks, seeing exactly like Hailey said, like seeing what took shape from there.
Totally. Yeah. And yours is different because it's another solo work, but you had a director, or did you kind of do it yourself?
I didn't have a director, so I like built the show from a workshop and then tried bits of it out at shows, variety shows and mics, and then I booked a space and like did the hour. I did it at Activist Kitchen, which is a pretty affordable theater. And then I brought it to the festival.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, I've always thought of devised theater in relation to traditional theater or traditional modern theater. So it's building work without having a text or script. That's how I've always seen it. So you're making it up.
And I would say that for us, Devise work in the fringe context means something different than when you're going to like a collegiate level. People have like a very defined definition of what devising means. They have very specific methods of what it means. But what we've seen at Fringe is that Fringe is where those methods get developed. And that you know, when you really look into like a historical context of theater being developed, you have to kind of see that like there's going to be some rules around devising, but at the end of the day, you're going to make it up with your, you know, your team, your crew, yourself, your creative process. And that's what's so cool about device work is that you can kind of make it up on your own.
That's I think a key phrase.
Yeah.
Make it up.
Yeah, I think so. It's different than being handed a script and then maybe making some edits. It's not just that. It's like, even when you do have these moments, it's complete creative chaos. And the way that you call that chaos is really dependent on you. You're going to define that as the creative director of this thing. And I know that for our ensemble folks, was there anyone that was kind of like leading, like, okay, we're going too far off? Or was it just kind of creative chaos that was okay, that just happened?
Yeah, I think we would definitely go, I think, we would go with our gut in the play, and then if we were kind of rearing off, honestly, like anything went for a while, and we were just kind of just like wanting to like lay and see what happened. So chaos was okay because we didn't have a script yet.
Yeah.
But then eventually, when we started like transcribing, I would transcribe, you know, some of our rehearsals that went well, or like little bits that went well. I would start to just write everything down, and then we started to like actually rehearse from the script.
Yeah.
So once we got an idea of like where maybe this was going or the structure, yeah, sure, there was more moments where like our director might say, you know, maybe we're getting too heady about what this means. Stay in the play, stay in the moment, and like find the joy within it. And as an ensemble, I guess, even though we're like 7 women coming all with our own opinions and egos about what we think we want this show to be, we as a whole were more abstract, which is what our director kind of like helped us understand. So
Yeah.
I think that was really important in the process to understand like what are we outside of what we want to be, what actually are we as an ensemble, you know?
Was there anything, how does that look? Does it change every time with different scripts?
Yeah, it kind of does.
Yeah.
This was, I think, the most different because it was a solo show.
Right.
And I think I was always afraid of that we were pushing it too far. But Rosie, who co-wrote the play with me and directed it, had to just be like, remember what we're writing about. Like, it's actually realistic. It's not, you're not pushing it too far. It's unfortunately,
Yeah.
like the truth. So yeah, but typically like the last show that Attic Collective did was like an 8-person cast. And Rosie again was the person kind of standing back and being like, let's, you know, rein this moment in, ground it more. She was great with that.
Yeah.
When you say too far, like what can you describe what your what that limit feels like?
Yeah, so in And Her Children, there's a point at the end of the play where she sort of loses control of the narrative and has to come to terms with the truth of this horrific thing that has happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like spoiler alert, the school shooting, she has to go through and explain beat by beat exactly what happened during the shooting. And I thought that was, my fear was that someone in the audience would have been in the situation and would be triggered by hearing these things. So to me, I think writing it, I was also, it was tricky because I knew I was going to act it. So I was like thinking of myself acting it as well and feeling like I don't want to actually hurt people in the story. But thankfully Rosie was like, I think we kind of have to go there if we're going to go there. It just felt like really, it made me feel sick. And it does make me feel sick every time I do it. But I think with this story, that's like what it should do.
I was going to ask this later, but like, I'm kind of curious because it came up. How was it devising a piece that was so serious and kind of hard to face about school shootings, about gun violence? How was that hard on you and the team in comparison to like some of your more, less serious work?
Yeah. So Rosie lives in New York. I live in LA. So we would jump on Zoom and open a shared Google Doc, and that's how we would write together. And we would write and then stop, take a break, and then come back and I would read it as the character. We would edit. And there are two scenes that are just like horrible. I think it's all horrible, but two that they were the hardest to write because I kept having to stop and be like, I can't. I am feeling really sick and I don't want to write this scene and I don't want to read the scene. So it was really, really challenging to write it, but then writing it, knowing that you're acting it is like a whole other level.
Yeah. How did you recenter yourself to do that?
I would just thankfully it's Rosie and she's my dear friend who gets me and can kind of see it happen before I could even see it happening. And so we got to a point where she would be like, we're going to stop for the day. We're going to stop and it's fine and we'll come back in 3 days or whatever. And I think just having time to process and know what I was going to have to do, I was able to come in ready for it. But writing it on the fly and realizing, oh my God, this is the scene that we have to write, was it was good for us.
Yeah. It's super interesting. Pulling it all back, I would love to have just a little bit more of a definition of the shows we were talking about. It's an ensemble clown show. But what were some themes that you were all hitting on? And we'll go to even the movie because I think that would be helpful for the rest of the folks who might not have seen the shows.
Yeah. Birth of Disco is a very literal interpretation of the show, not a history lesson. But basically it was women stripping out of their business attire and entering into the world of play. And a general it kind of ends on a wistfulness, about the dissonance between the two, work and play. And there's cool little serendipitous anecdotes in there where towards the end where we are coupling up and dancing, someone announces this is Valentine's Day 1972, and that was an idea that we had just come up with a long time before in a variety show. But we actually realized, I looked it up, and there was this on that day there was this legendary DJ in New York City who threw a party on Valentine's Day 1972 where they say disco was born.
Whoa!
So insane. Some weird magic happening there. But yeah, the general feel I'd say is also just a feminist fever dream. Very colorful. It's very, very colorful, very playful, kind of whimsical.
I feel your two projects too are two different spectrums. One that is a lot of energy, and Kid Guy has it's a little slower to get into. Can you describe what your piece was?
Yeah, my piece was called None of Your Business, and it was about a guy who spent the last 10 years inside watching TV, and this was his first night out at a party. And the idea was that he's in his apartment and he hears a party going on in the other room, so he puts on an outfit and decides to go to the party, and the party is just the audience staring at him, kind of in a nightmare where everyone stops what they're doing to look at you, and it's that for an hour.
It was uncomfortable, and I loved it. But there was like at least 10 minutes where like we were like, oh, this is the full shot. And then you like are so meditative in it that you're like, oh, this is the full shot. You know, like you start off being like, oh, they might talk to me, and then you're like, oh, they might talk to me.
Oh,
You know, like,
yeah, that's the goal, is like to be kind of, it's off-putting, and then by the end, hopefully they're like, whoa, don't go.
yeah.
Oh, thank you so much.
And your children.
Yeah, and her children is modern day Mother Courage and her children. I play Anna Fearling, who is a spokeswoman for the NRA. So her job is to go in to these town halls after there's been a mass shooting and defend guns and the Second Amendment. So in our play, it sort of begins and time stops, and she sort of is trying to figure out if this is her fault, if she is to blame, and she has a decision to make at the end whether or not to keep her job.
What brought, so we talked a little about what brought you to the Fringe circuit a little bit here, but what do you need to do with your show to make it fringy, to make it acceptable within like this kind of audience that is maybe a little bit different than your typical putting up a show in a comedy festival or in a more like traditional theater festival? Is there anything specific to Fringe? Maybe the like set limitations. Sometimes for some comedians, they told us it's actually better than you're limited. Usually in a tech way, that you're not really limited at Fringe. You actually have a little bit more tech that you can do. You have a little bit more excitement. Yeah. So anything. Yeah. When you were deciding to approach your show, was there anything you tailored it to fit different? Or,
Yeah, my goal was to build a show that I could like pack in a suitcase. That was my personal goal. I think different venues have different limits, but I've learned that for me, the simplicity of the tech and the set was all very helpful. Because I was also working alone. I didn't have like a team. So that was just less stressful for me, to make it simple.
and if you have a touring goal, I think that's an absolute necessity, because you have to remember that you're going to want to tour it outside of LA. But even when you're touring it around LA, you don't have like, you're not going to bring a truck, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's just not really realistic for the touring circuit as it is.
I know this was my first time doing Fringe, but I know that I was told there's like a lot of different ways you can approach it. You can like go full on and do like, you know, PR and like photo shoots and all that, or you can kind of just come in and wing it in a way.
Yeah.
But I think it was helpful, just to have the opportunity to have all the deadlines, have to think your piece through so that you can market it, and like now I have this little thing I can fit into a suitcase and bring it wherever I want. So I think that was helpful to have all that. I think what used the design for us was we tried like our set is a chair and a mic stand, and we knew like a theater will probably have a mic stand, so like that's great.
Which is different than other pieces you guys have done that have been like these huge set pieces and these huge like stage pictures.
I directed for Fringe 2 years ago. I directed Hedda Gabler, and we had like 23 moving boxes full of all of our props that became the set, and then stuff had to come. It was so stressful, and I thought like when we started talking about potentially doing this show for Fringe, I was like, guys, please, not a lot of props, because I really like need to take time to get ready for this, and I can't be like, where are 17 of my props right now? So we kept it like super minimal.
And the piece dictates that, right? Like some pieces need, like, could you have done that piece without all those boxes? Probably. Okay, you haven't done that without all the boxes. But you could have done the last persona, which was in 2019. Right. I don't know if you could have done that without the tents on stage in the same way. Yeah.
Tents on stage.
They built this. They built these like 3 tents.
Yeah.
And like 3 strong lights between them.
Whoa.
While the audience was walking in, it was the most brilliant loaded and load out I've ever seen. While the audience was walking in, they were building the set on stage, and then like also it was choreographed perfectly. And I think that that is like a great reference that we like to show to people. It's like, this was like a small ensemble of, you know, maybe like late 20s artists that were just like, I want to do something big. And I've been doing Fringe for a while, and I want to do something huge, and I want it to be like Bright Swans. And it really was. It was really beautiful, but it really took that, like, being able to understand the Fringe circuit, understand your venue, have relationships with people to get to that level of that big. It's really smart to start. So start small, just start intimate, and then if you have those swan songs you want to do them when you have, like, the people who will help you do that. Because that also to a lot of people.
It did. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah. So we're talking about writing. We're going to get back to the writing process a little bit. For Reshma, your show was reliant on audience interaction.
Mm-hmm.
How did you make those pieces? How did you kind of start out this little idea? Did you start it with like little bits, or was it like this full concept for, was it in Fresno, was it Rogue Festival?
Yeah.
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 They're a great festival. If you ever want to go to it, you should do it.
Yeah.
Lots of Hollywood Fringe shows too.
And it's a mostly like storytelling festival. So if
Yeah.
you deviate from the storytelling form, they're like so loud. Yeah. So I started, my friend Paul was like, some of you know Paul Sledger. We all like pitched in money to work at the yard and like put up new work. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to try and come up with something new, which is like terrifying and embarrassing. And I like found one thing. I started with the tape on my nose because in the full show, I'm like covered in tape. But I started with one piece because like that's what my sister and I would do when we were kids, and we thought that was funny. And it kills.
It's so funny.
It's so funny. But I was like in a bathrobe, and I had like just woken up, and then it felt too lazy, so I made it more posh with like more. I was like, okay, maybe I'm like dressed up. And it took like a year of like trying to figure out who the guy is and like where is he, and then I was like, well, I'm in a blazer, so I must be at a party, and then like Kevin was like, it should be more. You should have one more weird element. So I was like, okay, let me make my tape hand. And Paul was like, what if the glass was taped to your hand? So it's like little like feedback from like random friends and mentors, and then I did a show at PDA, rest in peace. And I was like, I'm gonna do all my ideas, like every idea that I have around this guy and this idea. And I did all of them, and it was like so stressful. I cut like 90% of it, and I kept what's your favorite movie, and like the aesthetic I kept. So yeah, that's how.
What is your favorite movie?
Oh, it's such a difficult question.
Hey, you also got
The Chicken Run is probably high up there, which the 20th anniversary is coming up.
Oh, well, we should be doing something about
Yeah, yeah. It's like it's playing in some theaters right now for the 25th.
I love Chicken Run. Chicken Run was a huge like childhood favorite record. Anyways, I'm gonna get off topic. So Molly, something you were like talking about is who edited your show and who formed it outside of all these like pieces that you were doing. Was that also collective, or was it one person kind of managing that process?
Oh, it was definitely collective. We all have our strengths, in the group. So it was a pretty organic process of like, whoever was more of a producer kind of stepped up and did that. And that was, Angelica Giatris did a lot of like the fringe management and stuff. And, I'm a video editor. So like I did some tech, and me and Alex worked on tech. The writing was true. Hollis and Tiff did the set design. But the writing was truly like all of us. We would show up, do the thing, play, figure out what we liked. And then at some point I started to transcribe all of the video recordings. And then from there, we looked at the script, we would like whittle it down. I remember we all met as a group and started like putting post-its on the wall to figure out what the themes were and like what the games were and what fit where. That changed so much. But eventually, yeah, I think it was one post-it meeting where things really came together, and I was like, aha. And I was working a lot with the footage, so like I could see it, and I was like, okay, this fits here, and this, and then it ends like this. And then we had one rehearsal where we were trying new things, so we kind of fell away from the script for it was like our last like let's try everything before we stick to this one thing. And our director was great, Natasha Mercado. She was like, you know, this is getting more heady, actually, and we want to go back into the abstract because I think you guys were having more fun with that. So yeah, then we were just kind of like, after that, we stuck with what was, you know, in the script and what we had left to write or play with. And yeah, I think that is the question. Yeah.
For my clowns, what did your script look like? Was it a script, or was there like moments? Like, how did you format that? And I know for some
No script. Yeah.
Just show up.
No script, but like 3 tech cues with 3 lines that would cue the tech cue. So 3 like pillars.
What were some of those cues like? Just describe them.
So I prompt the audience to ask me my favorite movie. And then that's like the cue for the monologue from Austin Powers, the Dr. Evil monologue. And then I had a joke that I then cut. The name of the name of the show is None of Your Business, because I answer like it's a French film called. My favorite movie is a French film called Nanya. None of Your Business. And then that cues another like dance thing, and I have a private moment, like a private dance with someone. And then the ending, which is I'm going to do an Irish goodbye, and then it cues I'll be seeing. No, we'll meet again.
Yeah.
Just the music.
What about yours? And what did your text cues kind of look like? How did you interact with this? How did you explain to your tech person going into Fringe what the heck they were doing and how they were supposed to like stage manage it and get some lighting in there, get whatever sound was used?
Just being super specific about, so I would take snapshots. So when we started to run through the whole show, as an ensemble, we kind of needed a script, and it wasn't a script like we had to say this dialogue. It was more just like, these are the beats. And like, as Reshma was saying, like we had to be specific about the cues because that was, you know, obviously the tech relies on those. So I would take screenshots of like whatever our poses were, or our tableau, or like someone raising their hands or whatever. So the tech person would know what, you know, what exact moment. And usually it was like a dramatic thing that someone said, or like a dramatic pose or whatever, so that it was really clear. Yeah.
So I'm not in clown, or Hailey. Because you're building off of pre-existing text.
Yeah.
How much of that text influenced the creative process? Were you referencing it a lot? And how much like led the journey, and then how much stuck in there? Like how did that work for you?
I mean, it's more like the themes and the character of Mother Courage. Those were the things that like really stuck. At the beginning, I really, really struggled writing, I think because I was trying to stick too close to the original. Mm-hmm. And once I kind of let go of that and just like stuck with the themes, what really was my in was like in Mother Courage and her children, it was the cycle of violence that it just like she would lose a child and then stay on that road and lose the next one and stay on that road, and you're reading it going, do something different, like stop. So that's really in the play. And then just a mother who I think is a really, 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 really good mother who also cannot stop profiting off of war. Mm-hmm. So like that is another thing that we got in there. I really, once Rosie and I locked into the idea, I didn't read the script.
Yeah.
But I highlighted a couple lines that were really important, and then I thought, well, kind of, if I got a little confused or off, I would like read a certain line from Mother Courage, and be like, okay, yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, so it is definitely like, we avoided calling it an adaptation. We called it a reimagining, which we said was different.
And we call the things that we've done interactive instead of immersive, because words do matter in marketing, you guys.
Yeah.
If you call it something, you have to deliver on that.
Yeah.
So if you're going to do an immersive experience, it's very different than an interactive experience. An interactive experience could be late versus late, whereas like immersive has to be that. An adaptation has to be an adaptation where a reimagining does give you that looseness.
Yeah.
While also kind of calling the same thing.
Yeah.
I wonder what came first. I want to redo Mother Courage, or I want to do something about gun violence. Or both at the
Honestly,
same time.
okay, this is the weird thing. I randomly picked up a copy of Mother Courage. I was like, I should read this. I read it since college. It seems important. I started reading it literally the day that there was a school shooting in Florida, and my brain just like connected them at the same time. So really, it was like simultaneous.
Yeah.
And I reached out to Rosie.
What did your script look like at the end? And can you explain some of the tech elements that I know are pretty intensely involved in?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was like, it's a 64-page monologue, so it's just a monologue. Mother Courage has a lot of songs, and they break out into song, and I don't sing. So we knew we wanted a musical element, and Rosie found this incredible violinist, MILANO, who is on stage before me. She's on stage as the audience comes in, facing upstage, and you see her back. And she is scoring certain moments where Anna starts to maybe go into territory that she doesn't want to go into. There's like a quick, sound on the violin. She's like, oh, sorry. Anyway, back to this story. And Alana was great because Rosie and I don't play the violin. We didn't know how to write that into the script. But we just knew the moments where we thought that would happen. And Alana was like, this, and kind of like helped us in that way.
Let's see this for the right word. That's what I'm saying. It takes a village. It takes you being able to connect with non-theater people, being able to connect, and that's also with your audience.
Yeah.
For people to be able to say like, oh, I'm this classical musician, and I got to collaborate on theater pieces. It's special for people.
It's really cool. Yeah. So that's maybe our biggest tech. She's live processing on stage. So she can make it sound differently through this program called Hailey.
Yeah.
Like she's doing it live. It's in the house, yeah.
Sponsor that.
So that's cool. And then the other kind of tech thing that we do that was really challenging once we figured it out, it's cool. There's an app called, I think it's called Airfoil. Okay. And so the booth can, my phone is on me, and it's like, silenced, but the booth can control my phone on stage. So I get text messages that ding, and my phone is actually dinging. So it sounds.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did that take good Wi-Fi? Or hard there?
I mean, I don't know.
It's a big spectrum.
Yeah.
For all of you, just walk me into an average rehearsal session at the beginning, and then like when you're dressing, like right before the show. What would it look like? So we talked a little bit about the beginning, like you guys were devising this piece, but what did it look like when you're like, I'm ready to stage this? What did that end up looking like? Did you have like invited guests where you would do things like you were doing pickup shows? What were you guys doing? To get like audience to start to understand that.
Oh yeah, we did have a show with like a practice audience. Or
Yeah.
whatever you call it. Yeah, like an incubator kind of thing where we invited our friends or family, and that was so helpful. I wish that we had done more actually of that. I think it was such a time crunch. We didn't set up a lot of those kind of the room for like audience interaction and feedback.
Yeah.
So yeah, we did one of those here, and then we really just stuck with like art rehearsing in the studio just as many times as we could. I mean, yeah, the time crunch was real. It was, yeah, everything came together very last minute, and we were still tweaking things even throughout the show. So I think, yeah, when our first performance happened, it was like we got so much feedback from the audience interaction that we even adjusted. We rehearsed between shows and all of that. So
Did you do any shows before Fringe, or did you just draw it out?
Yeah, we just raw dogged it
That's crazy. And how did that feel for something so serious too? Like,
The most horrifying time of my life was opening.
yeah.
It was so Breaking flew like 2 weeks before Fringe started, so we only had 2 weeks of rehearsal together.
Yeah.
And then we did a designer run, so we had like 3 people in the room one time, and that was sort of helpful.
Yeah.
But yeah, opening night, I was just like, oh my god, I think I should do this. Like, they could, I don't know, you just don't know.
Yeah.
Um,
And then you went to have a Fringe.
Yeah.
So look at that. Then you go in opening day and you're like, this could be terrible. You have no clue. You just don't. And it's really hard to do something without that audience feedback, because it's really hard. And I think with such an expert ensemble, you all have done this a lot. I think it can feel a little bit easier to trust on your laurels.
yeah.
But man, if it's your first time doing a Fringe show, or it should not be Hollywood Fringe should not be your opening night. It just shouldn't be. That being said, people do it all the time, and they break the rules and they win. It's going to be so based on your gut, like whatever it says. The only rules that are not meant to be broken in Fringe are code of conduct, and that's it. Everything else is meant to be broken because it's what makes beautiful new things. Things that 5 years ago we would have been like, no props, no sets, and now some people are like, no props, no sets, unless no tech, and then we're like, no props, no tech, no unless and if there's really last year there was an artist who was like, I'm going to be doing this show where I'm live streaming myself in a tent, and I was like, that sounds like a bad idea. That sounds like a really intense thing to be doing. And he was like, no, me and my tech have it. And I was like, okay. And then I went and saw the show and I was like, oh my God. But the feat of it sometimes can be so exciting. But it does take work to get into there. Fringe is not going to do that for you. You have to do that for you. You have to have those people on the team that know, no, don't worry, I can live stream from inside of your tent, and the Wi-Fi at the hot water plunge will hold. Because you have to remember, there's a bar, often where you are doing your shows, there's often bars that are running in the same space. Sometimes they're not even in traditional theater spaces. And so, these are things to be thinking about in that writing process. It's if I want to do a tech-heavy show, where, how, why? If it's my first show, is that worth it? Or should I keep guiding it up, Do something that can be in that little, suitcase, because then you can, after meeting your people here through this, do that larger piece. For you, my dear friend, is there anything that you wish that you had known before doing tape guy at these little festivals? Was there anything going into Rope Festival that you're really shaped out of that? Or was it just kind of it just kind of worked because it's that simple idea?
Anything I wish I would know.
Before doing it on the festival circuit.
I don't think so, because the festivals are how I discovered things, and maybe I could have asked for a little more help. I don't know. To me, solo performance is me doing whatever I want to do, and no one can tell me what to do. And it's a liberation for me. But I think getting help might help me, even with emotional support, I have a partner who holds space for me, and he's like a theater person, so I'm able to be like, yeah, and then the lights did go, you know. But even having a director as someone to just be there for you after the show to be like, no, you were great, or like, you know, this didn't work, but this did work. I think for the next phase, I would love a director.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about for your next phase? Is there anything you wish you had done or anything you would change? You know?
You put that so well, like kind of no, because yeah, so much of the learning process is just part of putting it on in front of an audience. And I don't think there was any amount of rehearsing we could have done that would have, you know, prepared us for the different audience, you know, interactions we had. Like, I know the time of day that we put the show on had a big influence on, like, we had a midnight show and it was a completely different show. Like, the audience was wild. And there was nothing we could have, you know, we couldn't have prepared for that. But yeah, I think also I agree that like having someone who's super close to the show to give feedback on, and we did have a director, but she was actually gone for the that whole run because she was doing her own show in Edinburgh. So yeah, I think that's important. And then yeah, and I honestly, I don't think we might not have had a script if it weren't because of having to be super specific with tech and the cue, making a cue sheet and stuff. So yeah, I think just having a really, like, don't underestimate how much planning to put into the cue stuff for tech.
Totally.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fringe audiences. I think first night I got huge laughs at the top, and it kind of threw me, to be honest.
Yeah.
I was like, "I'm going to write a comedy about school shootings."
People laugh when they're comfortable,
Oh
right?
my God, like the biggest laughs I've ever gotten in my life. I got picking up the children.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and I think like after the first couple of shows, I was like, just relax, like it's okay. They weren't laughing but you. Just
Yeah.
we didn't write a comedy about, but I think yeah, I think just remembering like if you do it for, you're doing the show for your director, for your friends, like that's something, and then just get ready for an audience that might be like totally quiet, super laughy, like vocal, because it threw me at the time.
When is your work done? Especially when devising, because you can devise it into Oblivion. What's your script done? Is it ever done? Yeah, you just kept. Did you make changes during your first run?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And we're still going to make changes, and we're going to put probably more. Yeah, we'll I think it's like, oh man, when is it done?
Like when I decide to stop doing it, I think then it will be done.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's clown, so it's like different every time. And what do you think? I think Fringe is for evolving pieces.
Yes,
So,
100%.
Yeah.
It has to be like, the thing about Hollywood Fringe too, it's like you have to realize there's a circuit of fringes and there's a circuit of theater. And so Hollywood Fringe is going to be one of your larger parts of the circuit. So you're going to be competing against more shows. So if you're like, I want awards, I want this, I want that, you have to come in with a plan. That doesn't mean that plan will work. And sometimes the best thing is just doing a good show for good people. Being like, I want to build audience here in LA. I want to build my artist audience. I want to build that. And then the rest of it will kind of come. Because if you come in being like, I'm going to get this figure, I'm going to get this award, I'm going to get this thing. But you really should have like a little bit of plan of like, I'm interested in this award and I want to talk to this person, especially if it's one of our more competitive awards. But I would say that you guys have never really, like, how much do you strategize around that if it's nothing? Nothing, right? You should be focused on the show.
Yeah, I was like learning about applying for awards like during the run. Oh, you gotta like email everyone. Yeah, mostly the show. But also I went to all the office, or most of the office hours.
It's helpful.
I challenged myself to like do the social work of like getting to know other people, because that's what the Fringe is. It's like meeting other artists and exchanging comps so that you can see like a million shows. That was my favorite part.
Yeah. I know. I love seeing the work, and I feel like it does really like inspire you. Every single show is so different.
Yeah.
But everybody's kind of feeding off of each other, and I've seen some amazing collaborations happen because of two completely different artists see each other's show. And then they create something like even more beautiful together the next year or for a different festival or for a different thing. You're not supposed to like have to want to do Hollywood Fringe every year too. Like that, if you're like new to Hollywood Fringe and you're coming in here, you're not supposed to be like, I'm going to do this every year. Although you should come and see shows and you should become a part of the community every year. You know, like there's ways to interact that isn't just like putting up your work. It's also like, I'm going to maybe be in a show. I'm going to find my ensemble. I'm going to do box office for a friend and get a free ticket because of it. You know, like there's so many ways to interact too. And last 2 years ago, there was an artist who was like, I'm going to run a solo show, but I'm not going to do it until I see an entire year of Fringe because he was like, I'm really overwhelmed by this. And for him and his stage of life, that was really important. He wanted to see it go throughout for a year. He wanted to interact, build community, find contacts. And he said that it was the best decision he had ever made. And during that time, he volunteered for theaters and for Fringe. And he learned which parts of Fringe he was the most excited by. He met the venue managers and he decided, I want this venue. He met us. He was like, this is like how I'm going to work it underneath it. And I think that if you're somebody who's like in that process or like maybe this is your first time or you're in that in between stage and you're like, this is overwhelming to me, this dance panel is overwhelming, you don't have to do it right away. You can come be a part of it. But if you are going to do it right away. When did you start writing your piece in relationship to June? Was it now? Was it later on? How long was your developmental process before you performed it for the first time for at Hollywood Fringe?
6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, we decided we were going to do Fringe in January.
Okay.
So, yeah, we started in November and finished the script in like February.
You are all so far ahead of people because the rest of the people we've talked to today were like, I did it in April.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you know.
I'm really slow. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm like putting up the show and then like get it, and then I'll share another,
I think it's more relaxed and I think it can be really authentic to be able to come in with that longevity. I think it's recommended. But it doesn't mean that like you're screwed if you all of a sudden in March are like, I've had this idea since November and it's been ticking and I've played a couple of things and now I'm going to write it. Like that also happens. And especially if your goal is to just put something up and to be an artist community, you should just do it.
And I saw some work in progress shows that were really exciting at Fringe.
Yeah.
They're figuring it out.
It's kind of like there's it's a place for everyone to do anything that they need to do. And that means that you'll have like these very big ranges of work from very serious pieces to, very silly to something in between. Let's talk about vulnerability. Being on stage, especially for my solo people, for an hour, let's talk about vulnerability. How do you deal with it as a creation process? How do you not just get off stage and be like, wow, that's no stuff, Like no matter how good you are, you're still going to have this moments of like, that was me being vulnerable in a group of 60 people for an hour. How did you deal with that? How did you take care of yourself in that?
Okay, in the play, I wore a blonde wig and a pantsuit, and a lot of makeup. And honestly, like getting out of that is what helps me.
Yeah.
Shake up and those pretend to
yeah,
you're okay. So I think just and that's taken a long time, but just really, really being like, when it's done, it's done, and you can't change it, and you maybe got a million things up there, and you're fine, and go to the lunch and hang out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I similarly have a get-up that is complicated that I have to put on. And putting it on I've never had such a process, but putting it on helps me get into it. And then the show itself is like, I am playing this version of myself that like feels like an alien. And sometimes I do get off stage and I'm like, dang, I was really playing with this pain that's in the room that we all feel. And I didn't really get the release. Like, I don't know what I was searching for, but I feel like I didn't find it. And that's hard to sit with afterwards. But someone gave me some good advice this summer. They said that sometimes the work is just sitting with not being understood. And it it's like, dang, no one's gonna like take that away or like relieve me of that. But I think we all put ourselves out there in some way, and like that's the work. Is like maybe someone might not get it or even think it's bad or disgusting. My first show, I filmed my first show, and I thought it went bad because I was so sweaty and the tape pulled off my face and was like, I could hear my voice bouncing off of the tape into my ear, and I really felt like I was in a fishbowl the whole show. And I was just like, dang it. Like, I was so nervous, I was so sweaty, and then Woody Fu filmed it for me, and I watched the film, and I was like, oh, I'm so hard on myself. Like, it was still a show when people got something from it, and I think we are our worst critics. You're so vulnerable for getting out on stage and having everyone look at you. And
it's something that like I feel is very like hits first time producers in the face. It's like, oh, like I'm doing theater. Like as you're doing all these things to create the piece, and then all of a sudden you're doing it. How did it go for an ensemble? And how do you work with a like when somebody's having a bad day in the ensemble? How did you hold space for that? How did you all kind of navigate? As how many of you were there? 8, 7? Yeah, just navigating through a horrible year. Yeah, and like kind of coming in and doing joyful theater anyway.
Wow. I mean, still a work in progress. You know, it's been like over a year that we've all been playing together, and we just had like a meeting this past week talking about how to move forward and taking care of everyone. I think as an individual, you know, you have to know how to take care of yourself first. But yeah, it was really difficult just to care. You know, we all care so much about the piece that we're making, and we all care so much about each other. And so when someone comes in and they're having a bad day, it's hard to not want to bring that into the space that, you know, it's hard to not want to be there for them. So I think, you know, some of us at some points would bring in our outside drama into the space that we're supposed to be playing in. And I think that I'm really glad that we actually held space for people's outside stuff, so that we all knew that it was a safe space and we could be there for each other in that way. But we needed to have that experience to decide that actually we need boundaries too with our like playtime, because we need to be respecting everyone's time. So like if we have 3 hours to like rehearse, you know, let's hold off on bringing in our outside stuff, and make it really like a sacred space to play, because it's such a privilege to be able to like, and you know, enter a space and be like, okay, I have an excuse to leave all my stuff out and behind, and I can like, this is why I do this, so that we can enter this space of play and like, you know, I guess have a break from all of the mundane everyday things that we have to deal with. And if we are having a bad day, you can like bring it in an artful way, or like
Totally.
a more healing way.
Totally. You can get those emotions out on stage, even if it's not on that same subject, you know, feeling that fire of like, this is what I've been feeling. It does come through, you know, and whether you want it to or not. And some things that are to be said is that creating art in this economy is really, really expensive. It's really, really stressful. And it's really, really on the independent artists. And it's not fair. It shouldn't be this way. In many other countries, it isn't. But we do them in America, in Los Angeles, which, you know, we're behind the state art. For state art spending, we'll talk about it. We're behind Florida per capita. You know, like, that's pathetic. You know, like, we are in a tough market. And it can feel hard. And I want to talk about, like, how did you balance feeling all of that, having to fundraise, having to do all this stuff with doing your full-time job, doing the thing that actually, like, sustains your life, and then doing a great job out of it. Like, what are some, like, tips for people, especially in this creative process where you want to keep it nice and juicy and you want to get something out of it that isn't just, you know, putting on another work outfit. It's not the same work outfit, you know? So anything you did to balance that out, anything, like, any advice that you wish you had gotten at this stage, especially going into something so much of, like, it is a business, you know, to run a theater company and to do fringe, you're running a theater company.
Yeah, I think seeing it as a business opportunity helped me. I do gigs for a living, so I saw this as like a big gig, and I had financial goals. I wanted to make a profit. So I saw it as an opportunity to learn how to strategize and do that. So that was, what's the word? It was encouraging or motivating.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't want to see it as like a struggle. I wanted to see it as something I could, like, accomplish.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I think having, if you can have a partner in it, do that. I think I'm a big list maker, and it helped me to, like, for the business side of things, like, make my checklists and get as much done ahead of time so that when I was at office hours or at fringe, I could have fun, because that's what keeps you coming back and not, like, dying. So I think, yeah, like, really put on your business hat, but then throw it off and, like, find the joy in this process. Also, I'm a nanny, so, like, I couldn't focus on fringe when I was, like, doing my day job.
Yeah.
Because an 8-month-old is insane.
Yeah.
So be a nanny.
It really does put it in perspective. Whenever we're hanging out with Lois Scott out there, she's 5, and I'm always like, oh, the world is, like, not this. The world is not fringe. The world is not theater. The world is not the day job. The world is actually, like, building every day. And you see it through these children, and you're like, oh.
Yeah. Drink lots of water.
Oh my God, yeah.
Get sleep. Talk to your friends. I'm a video editor by trade, so, like, yeah, I mean, I was always just looking forward to, like, getting together with my ensemble. It was like a joy every week to be together and just, like, have an excuse to wrestle.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I think what was I gonna say? Oh, it's also easy to let your ego get in the way, and I'd say, like, try not to take yourself too seriously, because it's like, I mean, it is stressful, you know, doing the whole thing, and there's a business side of it. There's, like, paperwork, there's, like, applications, there's, like, a lot of so yeah, just to take care of that part of your head.
Yeah.
I was in a group chat with other fringe friends, and we were all commiserating in the group chat, which was helpful.
Yeah.
Did you get that email?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you have to read them. And, like, we're working on making them shorter.
Nice.
Because I would never want to keep back from last resort too long. And I was like, that's fair. Because we try to, like, hit things over the head a lot of times. And we've restructured some of those, like, little tools to make it a little bit easier. 15 minutes? Oh, oops. So, like, I think it really is about making sure that you also are realizing that, like, the admin part is a part of it. And so if you are a person that's not good at that, you should probably, like, tap somebody who is. You know, like, you're not going to learn through fringe overnight how to become an admin person. But what you will learn is if you do these things and you're, like, slightly an admin person, like, you can use a Google Doc. You know how to use Sheets. You know how to use Canva. That's all you need. It's literally all you need. If those words are like overwhelming to you, then maybe it's time to also like figure out who's going to be that like admin brain for your creative genius. Yeah, I think like although you will want to learn these skills, and I would highly recommend that you learn them alongside whoever you're working with, the idea of like coming into it without those admin skills, it will make it harder for you because we're in such a technological age, especially. That being said, talk to us. I feel like this is overwhelming to me. Talk to us. I have many like opportunities to come learn. We have digital workshops about how to use our website, even how to like even go through that minutia. We have videos to show you all of those things. So if it is overwhelming to you, you can do it, but maybe it's time to tap into somebody who might be able to do it faster and easier so that you can focus on work. Do you guys have any questions for them before, anybody have a question? Anybody question? Anything that you've been thinking about? Will?
I have a question.
So could you say your name? And also if you have a show that you want that you're thinking about bringing to Fringe, you should bring it into this room.
Sure. I'm Will. I'm from Weekend. And I'm doing a show next week called Welcome to Hell with Mark Vigent. How do you say his last name? Vigent.
I think it's
Vigent.
Vigent.
Yes.
Vigent. Not
Vigilant.
Vigent.
Sure. He's Satan, and he's taking a conquest, and now he's putting on a show. So yeah, I'm up to that. But I want to ask you all, when you are an audience member at a show, a Fringe show, what's something that you really love to see or that really resonates with you? And then also on the flip side, there's something that gives you the ick. That's a pet peeve or something that you hate. You don't have to name names, but just vagueness.
I love to see authenticity. I'm going to hear it. Yeah. I love to see authenticity. I hate to see trauma porn. Like, if you're going to do something that's traumatic, it has to have like something that resonates outside of you. You need to be healed. So you can't write that show until you're healed. Because we can tell right away that you're not healed from it. And I've seen people that have gone into something and they're like, I'm re-traumatized because I was being taught this by somebody who hasn't healed. And that doesn't mean you have to be 100% healing. You don't have to be at the end of the healing process. You just have to start your own healing process while you're doing that traumatic work and build that space. Because it can be really hard. And I've seen like some feminist pieces where I'm like, guys, like there's more in the world than us, like you also should put your trauma into the context of the world. And what is traumatic for one person is not the same as traumatic for another person. And you need to make sure that when you're working through those pieces that you're like really cognizant that your audiences are going to be all genders, all races, and all ages.
Yeah. I love presence. Someone who understands the context also. Like, I cried after One Man John Wick.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's just like Woody, man. Like, he was filming everyone's shows and he was doing so much during the festival, and then he still had like an ease and just like, I'm just gonna be silly. And yeah, it just really touched me. His presence and his like it's not that serious energy around performing. But also I'm a clown, so I love to be reminded that it's not that serious.
Yeah, I agree. Presence. I don't know. There were so many shows that were just like so visually beautiful. Like you didn't even necessarily have to do anything as a performer. You could just be there and like the lighting and that just like that were just very striking.
Birth Disco was visual.
Oh, it was so much fun. I
Yeah.
loved it. And it had set pieces, but they weren't overwhelming. So much fun.
Yeah, scrappy. Yeah,
Yeah.
I loved being scrappy for Fringe. And yeah, this show, Slurt, Emily Maverick did. I really appreciated her. Like, people got so like experimental with their pieces. I think there was like a mock documentary sort of thing that she projected before she came into, before she came out and did the live thing. But it was like her like before story kind of thing that it was like so funny to me. And it was so cool to watch like this like mockumentary thing before, and then she comes out as an artist, and you're just like, oh my god, you're real. I'm already starstruck. And oh my god, I forget the question. Oh, ick. Not necessarily like ick, but I think something that, you know, when you see shows and you start to pick up on a formula, like maybe that's it could feel forced in a way that takes me out of it as a viewer. Not saying formula is bad or like a certain way of doing something is bad at all, but yeah, I think that probably goes with like presence. So forcing something rather than just like allowing something to happen. Yeah, don't be afraid to be different.
Yeah, I don't do audience interaction. It scares me. So when I see someone on stage who's good at it and is quick, and I'm just like, I fall in love with them, unfortunately. Never reciprocated. And I love that so much. Mark's great at it. Will, you're great at it. I love you. And like, it's the ick part of it, though. It's sometimes you see a show where like you can tell the audience member is like really nervous to be a part of it, and then the performer like almost makes fun of them a little bit, or like makes them feel bad. I'm like, no, please stop it. Like, don't do that. Which like doesn't happen a lot, but there are moments where it gets a little mean, and then the whole rest of the show, I'm just like, that was so hard to watch. Make me do that.
Or they pick them, which I think is almost worse.
Yeah.
Because then they like don't interact, and then we all have to watch them do this like multi-minute bit that they don't want to do.
Yeah.
That is never good.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to see an audience member do something they don't want to do.
Yeah.
It's not edgy. It's not funny. It's not interesting. See more theater, you know. So like I think also sometimes I see pieces and I'm like, oh, like as somebody who came into theater not knowing anything, never got to a class about theater, I was like, you have to see so much work to really get it. And so I think it's also like when I see somebody that I'm like, oh my god, they've never like seen an interactive piece and they're doing interactive work. Yeah. It's really obvious.
Yeah, you have to take care.
Yeah. It's hard too though, because like I would imagine that when you're beginning to do it, you're just overwhelmed, and there's like
I'm trying to sink yourself.
Yeah.
Like when you're just starting out, you're more scared than the audience.
Yeah. And so you're like, they can't be more scared than I am, you know? And so like there is something to be said about making those mistakes too. And like French is a very soft place to land. So like make mistakes. Do you have a question?
Yes. My name is Roz Brown, and I have a solo show that I'm doing next month for 4 nights, or 2 days and 2 nights, called In Search of Black People.
Okay.
And I have 2 questions. My first one, you mentioned a diverse theater. In the beginning, you talked about
was it the fun that I was saying?
a typical type of theater, you said.
Oh, Devise.
Devise theater. Devise, yes.
What's the difference between that and the improv?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, what?
I think there's a little crossover. I think we use improv to devise work. So I think, like improv is you're coming up with things on the spot, making it up as you go. I think that's part of devising. So actually something that we would do is like we would improvise an entire scene. We would say like, we're a couple, you're a couple, we're at a cabin at Big Bear, go. And then after we improvised the scene, we would step back and be like, okay, what was interesting? That was interesting. That becomes the devising part, is like creating something out of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then,
Do you have anything to add?
No, that was perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
how long can the solo show be in the Fringe?
Okay, so here's the thing about French. There's no rules, but there are precedents. And what I would really say is that if you're looking to tour your show, under 60 minutes is just key, because you're going to get more opportunity to expand upon it later. So, for instance, many shows will do, 50 minutes, 45, 50-minute shows, especially for a solo show. I would not go above 60 until you're ready to really expand that piece further than Fringe. And
If that include load in and load out?
you would do like usually 15 minutes of load in beforehand and 15 minutes of load out. But your show's context, like I've seen shows as short as 20 minutes and as long as 90 minutes. And people do more than that, but I don't go see it because I don't have time as a French director to go see an over 90-minute show. And you will find that with most press, with most industry, they don't have time to go see it. So that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist at Fringe. I've had people be like, I'm going to do 3 shows and all of them are related. And you can see all 3 tracks and they're all interrelated universes. And if you see all of them, then you got the context. And that worked for their audiences. It didn't really work for us. So I would say 60 minutes, it would be your slot that you would want to fit into because that's what those audience numbers are expecting. But you could go shorter. And I actually encourage to go shorter. I love a 30 minutes. If I can fit a 30-minute into my schedule, I am going to go to it even if I've never met before. I most often will take a risk on something under 45 minutes. I would say that was a good context. And I mean, we have 10 minutes. Does anybody else have any other questions? I have more. You have a question.
Yeah, they're not holding more.
That's fine.
Reshma,
They're fine.
my name's Cole. I am imagining a world where I make a show one day. But Reshma, in your show, there's lots of like comfortable silences, and just personally, I come from like a very energetic, always want to be talking sort of point of view, and I feel like. I don't know if that's something you thought about during the process, or something like you ended up with after doing it so many times. But I'm just curious that like, you landed in that like space where like there were lots of times you'd be like stuff, but now you just feel like so comfy watching that.
I mean, it started in my in clown classes when I was just clowning as myself, and I saw it as kind of an issue or a problem. I have an impulse and then I kind of let it die. And that's like bad in clown class. So in the show, I was trying to figure out how to celebrate it and make it kind of the main event.
And it's fair too. And I think it was fun.
Thanks.
I think it's nice to feel awkward as an audience member sometimes. Like you have to hold your audience member at the end. By the end, they have to feel helped. But there are some moments where they can feel dropped. Mm-hmm. Questions. Then I lost my question. Oh yeah!
Hi, Alec. And I don't know if I have a show or not. I spent most of my 20s doing like some theater and improv and that, and I kind of took a 20-year corporate gig. I'm here at it. Kind of found my spot here in the like moth real storytelling community. And you're just kind of investigating, like obviously the French for a lot of types of things.
Yeah.
It seems like it's not really for pure stand up, and obviously lots of different types of theater. But like, talk to me about stripped down autobiographical storytelling as a format, as their space for it, as a track. Like, how do you think about that?
I'll give a quick Fringe answer, and then I would love to hear more answers because you all know so many shows too, and it can relate to this. There's so many Fringes around the world, and some of them are 100% comedy and stand-up focused and storytelling focused. Like, actually that's a big part of Road Festival is that like storytelling, like just a mic and a person. And I would say that there's like some circuits that are like really, really good for that. Hollywood Fringe is not really one of them because here in LA, you could do that for free. And so why are you renting a theater and putting all of this work into doing something like that? That being said, what we will often see with that type of artist is that they are doing their special. So it's not the 15-minute set. It's like their 45-minute to 60-minute. I want to keep this as a special. I want audiences. There's a theming around the context of it. It doesn't always have to fit within that, but there's some sort of like, you are a character, as a stand-up comedian, and that would be your title would be related to that. It wouldn't just be like, I'm doing stand-up. It would be like, this is the section around what I'm discussing through my stand-up. And then it can deviate from there, right? You're not going to do all your jokes based on that, but you will have this format that calls it to. That would be what I would see at Hollywood Fringe. But other fringes to look out for would definitely be, smaller festivals, lots of it. And they're so great to try things out at too, and to start to kind of build that. And then, you know, like I would also say, the UK is a great circuit for commentators. I would also say to get into that.
Yeah, I love stand-up and I love storytelling. And I saw some of it at the Fringe. Like TT Lee has like a good chunk of their show is just them doing stand-up.
Yeah.
But I think they maybe used the show to have stand-up at the core and then to try like character at top. They did a little drag at the end. So I think there is a place for stand-up, but it could be an opportunity to like add some other things to it.
That's the spice.
Yeah.
Love it.
Anything else stand-up related?
I mean, I've seen it. It's cool here. Dale did one this year. And it was cool because he incorporated yes, thank you. Like song. It kind of became like a little cabaret-ish.
That show's called Devise Man.
Yeah.
I would really, focusing it like that too. Devise Man. You can tell what it's about, you know. And even with TT Lee, Good Girl, Go Baddie. So you have like a really firm context as to who these characters were within their stand-up, and that I think was able to help them sell their shows. Anybody else? Yeah. Do you have anything coming up that we can support, and how can we connect with you? So that we can make sure that people come see your shows. How can people find you? And if you have a hard name yourself, if you could put it, which I do, you know, who wrote at her, not easy. Make sure that you tell us how to spell so we can find you on social or on other things to keep up with your work.
Okay. I have some stuff coming up. I'm on Instagram at RESH. Do I spell it like now?
Yeah. Yes.
RESHMA.MEISTER. That's my name, Reshma Meister. And I do have some stuff coming up. I am doing a play at the Elysian this Sunday for Spaghetti Festival. It's called The Chiaz Cake Factory Part 2. I wrote it with my little cousin. We're both in it. And there's 14 people. And it's a Gen Alpha Millennial Cusp crossover. And then I'm also in a piece at Red Cat the same weekend, November 13, 14, 15. And it's called Mommy, and it's about traumatic parents.
It's part of Now
It's part of the Now Fest, at Red Cat, which you should all apply for.
Yes, please. If you ever, Now Festival, they're doing it now, and so the applications will be open in the spring sometime. But it's a great developmental place to do work. It's one of the only programs in LA to do that.
Mm-hmm. And they provide a stipend.
It's great. It's a great festival. And if you like to go see, I went last weekend, and the first 2 pieces, I was like, wow, this is Cal Arts.
Right.
And then the last piece was much more traditional theater. But they were all excellent works.
I'll be attending Chiaz Cake this Sunday. I'm excited. Holy Instagram. That's the best way to kind of keep track of what we're up to. And that is at H0ly.H0ly. We're hoping to put on our show, The Birth of Disco, again next year at the Elysian, and probably a few other venues. In the meantime, we'll be hopefully hosting some workshops, hosting some shows. So you can find everything on our Instagram. We're doing And Her Children this weekend in the main stage here at the Broadwater. Friday at 8, Saturday at 3. It's a benefit for Sandy Hook Promise. Check it out. I think tickets are still available. And then if you're going to be in New York in January and February, we'll be doing a show at Soho Playhouse.
That's so exciting. Oh, you guys are amazing. For everybody on our recording, thank you so much. We'll see you later. For everybody in this room, thank you for being here.